Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Dave and Sam for a very special discussion. This is the Part 3 spoiler review, spoiler discussion on Obi-Wan Kenobi, one of the most anticipated series of all time, one of the most anticipated reunions of all time, and I think we got it all maybe 3 episodes earlier than we thought. We'll get to that. But first of all, I want to ask everybody, how are we doing this evening?
Very good. It's been an amazing day of watching some extraordinary Star Wars. So yeah, it's been good, and it's 4-day weekend. What's not to enjoy about today?
Yeah. It would be better if we could get, the last 3 episodes to cover the extended long weekend. That's been my mindset. It would be a lot nicer. But that being said, we are here talking Part 3, and I'll say once more, this is a spoiler discussion. We're going to be discussing this episode, theories, previous episodes, other things. We've got a couple of people in the comments. We've got David from License to Queer with a hello there. Well said. We've got Bavari on a good evening. Bavari joining us for Star Wars stuff. Lovely. We normally get you on the Marvel stuff. Delighted to get everybody on. And as always, comment below your thoughts on Obi-Wan Kenobi, about this episode, what you enjoyed, maybe what you didn't enjoy. A lot of other things. We're going to cover all of that. And of course, please do hit that subscribe button. A lot more Star Wars stuff on the way. We covered Star Wars Celebration this weekend. We've actually got some more footage coming from the John Williams concerts, which we've been very lucky to get. So that's going to get staggered across the Jubilee weekend. So, like John Williams, keep an eye out. And as always, if you're new to the channel, you can find us on our social medias, Twitter at cinema_savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy. I've just realized this second now we have Instagram again now. You can find us on Instagram at cinema_savvy. I'll get that updated for the next video. As you can tell, that was very... it's been planned for a while, actually, but we're back on Instagram. We're doing photo things, which is very weird when you're a video channel. But I spoke quite a bit about the intros. We've had you two in. We're actually going to discuss something before we get into the episode. Something I'm sure you've been very well aware of. This is, of course, the stuff that is happening. Well, it's not stuff, the racist abuse that's happened to Moses Ingram the last few days. It's not, it's probably been more than the last few days, and we're going to be completely honest. And we're just going to have a bit of a mini chat on it. We don't want to jump in and name drop channels and other companies and things like that, but we just want to sort of bring it up as a channel where we stand with stuff like this. It's not hard to take a stand with things like this. We are disgusted by it, if I'm being polite. That is the polite term you'll get at this point in time. Yeah. It's wrong. Even if you have valid criticism of an actor or actress, that is valid criticism, racist abuse. It's not going to their social medias, abusing them directly, whether it's gender, race, sexuality, anything at all that is nothing to do with their role on board is completely out there, vile. I'm trying to refrain from kicking off on our speech to you guys before, but yeah. So as I said, a channel, we don't stand with it. We're against it. We don't want you involved. If you are for that, there's a reason. It's just me and Tate that run the show now. And as well as that sort of stuff, we want that from you at home. If you're commenting along, I mean, we've got License Queer in the comments there, and he's one of the best writers that the Bond fan base has, which is amazing. Seeing jump on the Star Wars thing. I know they've just done a Top Gun review as well. And with these fandoms, and it's not just Star Wars. Star Wars is one of the big players, of course. It needs to be welcome in. And as a fan, well, not as a fan base, I'm going to ignore that part, but this isn't exclusive to Moses Ingram. There's been previous Star Wars actors, Jake Lloyd, for example, schizophrenic now in hospital due to abuse. Ahmed Best almost committed suicide due to abuse pre-social media times. You've got the sequel trilogy. Don't even speak about treatment Kelly Marie Chan, John Boyega's had. Many others I'm probably going to forget the names of any instance. It has been relentless over the last few years, and I feel like it's hit a turning point. David, if you're a fan of Star Wars and you're racist, you shouldn't get Star Wars 100%. I sent a tweet yesterday saying that if no fan is racist, if you are finding someone to racially abuse them, you are not a fan of what you pretend to be a fan of. You would not do that if you enjoyed it or cared for it. As I said, there's a mighty difference between valid criticism of a role, performance, story, like whatever, and racist abuse. They're not the same thing. And if you do have valid criticism, don't let people that have been racist hide behind your argument. Call them out too. It's for everybody to do better. It's a very awkward thing to say this stuff live on air. I'm going to say that. We've got some notes. I don't know if you two want to speak, because we'll bring it very quickly, the Ewan and Lucasfilm thing as well after.
I mean, where do you begin with it? It's you're right. It's something you can't have. The discourse that goes behind inverted bunny ears fandom sometimes is crazy. What people can try and can hide behind that. The abuse of a personal abuse of an actor and actress who are reading lines on a script that are being given to them to say. They create these characters not by themselves. It's not this person who's doing this, and to then go out and say, "Oh, well, actually, now it's just I'm just not I don't agree with the way they're acting in this." It's like, no, you know what? You can't hide behind this so much. It is difficult to talk about. I mean, I'm a white privileged lower middle class male. I mean, it's so it kind of it feels sometimes it can feel a bit disingenuous for me to kind of go, oh, now this is all we're against, but it's absolute vile to go into not just post your views on a forum somewhere out there where you're chatting amongst this little clique of friends to go into someone's actual personal direct messages to drop abuse at them to the point where now say like finally Lucasfilm and the actors around her are coming out and fighting back a little bit, and it feels like it's long overdue. But yeah, it's the discourse is one of the things that drove me away from Star Wars for a bit when we finished our old podcast that we used to have. That was getting to the point just after the sequels had finished, and that was the Kelly and Retran stuff, and it was just a real lull in like I can't be part of this. I'm not part of that side of it, but it drags down the rest of the people who love this, like who adore everything this. I mean, look, if you're coming to this channel for someone who's going to happy clap and smile about everything Kenobi, you're in the right place. I see nothing bad in what I've seen, and I will certainly not be going out and go, and I didn't like this and that. I love it all. So it's just really puts a right downer on my love of Star Wars. And just as things like Celebration was an amazing weekend where there's this big there's a celebration of Star Wars. Weird, I know. But yeah, so to have that now, it's just this crushing kind of blow after it. It's a real kick in the gut. But I mean, yeah, exhausting.
Yeah, I don't really want to focus on it too much, but I think the main thing about just life in general is that you should be proud of who you are. And it's like today's the 1st of June, it's Pride Month, so for me, I'm very happy that I'm surrounded by people who support me, and I'm able to do things like this, and within the Bond community, and it's why I'm wearing this lovely Pokemon rainbow badge today. But just everything about this it's just such a shame that at this time it's still going on. I mean, it's great that people are standing up and combating it. It is again a shame that it is happening. But what I love is that people can be critical, and that criticism happens, and that it allows for nothing is perfect, and different people will have different opinions and thoughts, and that's so great. And I love to see people put actual reasons why. So when you get these just random comments or people messaging in either as a way to be racist or just using or using acting or the writing as kind of a facade, that's probably more annoying, because it's like they know what they're doing. It's not someone just being ignorant, it's someone who's actively trying to cause and create hate. So yeah, it's one thing to criticize a show, a performance, whatever else. It's another thing to then attack a person or go after one person. And the other two people who've had the most, I would say, attacks on the show, of course, Moses Ingram is number one, but then there's a 7-year-old actress who a lot of people have called out as well. Grown adults who are judging someone who is just starting in this industry, this very difficult industry, and who I think has done a great job with what she's been given, and I think especially in this episode, especially. But yeah, the racist elements of this are the things that we are focusing on, because it has been so much of it. But now I think there is sexism in there as well. This is a very male heavy fandom for Star Wars. luckily, you know, a lot of men, yourselves included, you know, I know are both so, you know, fine and open and, you know, non-prejudice at all, which is fantastic. But there are many who are, and I think it's just so sad. But what I'm hopeful for is that, you know, these people and these women and Moses Ingram will, you know, just rise above it, move past it, hopefully get as much support as possible. And then yeah, because I think, you know, still we're only halfway through. You know, there's still so much for people to see, to have so many opinions anyway at this stage is, I think, a bit ridiculous. But then to go that next step and be racist and hateful is just not right.
No, I agree with that. I said it is a tricky thing. It's not something we want to sort of delve too much on, but we do need to address it. Actually, we want to bring these comments by Baveri. These people are only fans of the hate, and there are sides and channels that thrive and encourage it. And this is precisely it. They send out people in their waves. They hide their ulterior motives. As long as they've got people clicking in, getting the ad revenue, laser eye thumbnails. I mean, one of the people shared was off a racist thumbnail, literally with words. And as he says, as a German, I can say looking the way and identify this is not the way to go. And I really respect that, actually, because it is. And people say, well, why do they say anything? Why don't they speak about the good stuff? Because it's not about that. You shouldn't have to accept the other things that come with it. And that's how I stand. And the last thing we'll mention is obviously Ewan McGregor's done a video, which actually saw this morning when I woke up, which was quite touching. You know, he thanked the fans, you know, for breaking this Disney Plus record, but he didn't do a video to say that. He did a video to do the second part of it, which was, you know, to call out the disgusting people that have been racist. And he just said, you are not fans of Star Wars in my eyes, and they need to hear it. People need to hear that. That is the main actor of this series they're watching, the main actor that's just done an entire press tour marketing his series around the fact that him and his co-actor got abuse throughout the noughties and are now thriving again. And as you said, Dave, they've come off the back of Star Wars Celebration, which, you know, we're all envious we couldn't be there. We'll probably be there next year. And you won't get that there next year. And you never get it there anyway, because the people that do all this are not going to turn to any event. They certainly wouldn't do it with their bare face showing. They'll do it all behind a keyboard as much as possible. And yeah, and Lucasfilm as well, people spinning the narrative. Lucasfilm needs to do better. Yes, they do. There are past experiences we've named up tonight. There are other things, marketing campaigns with Chinese markets. John Boyega is the standout. Yes, that was 2015. That was bad. They were criticized at the time. They're criticized now. But just because they have messed up in the past doesn't mean it means they can't not correct it now. I've got mad respect for Lucasfilm for taking a stance at the earliest possible stage. And again, having Ewan come out and do it, and more people will. A lot of, I think, Star Trek actors have come out. I feel that this hopefully is a turning point for not fandoms, but this is the first time I feel like I've seen an industry come together for something like this, and I hope it's one of the last few times they ever have to. And that's the sad thing, is it probably won't be. And, you know, I'd also say social media companies have as much to answer for, and that's a very common thing in football, which I'm involved with a lot in terms of what goes on with that. So, yeah, to end on that sort of downer start, we're going to try and talk about the episode. It's a really awkward segue into this. Actually, I really want to mention Risa Sam about the young Leia. I didn't get her name last week, but Vivian Lyra Blair, 100% one of the standouts this show immediately. I was watching it with my dad tonight, second viewing, and he said, she goes, he looks an awful lot like young Carrie Fisher. And when you've got someone that likes Star Wars but isn't, you know, madly in on it, that's when you always know something good's happening. But kickstarting part 3, we'll talk about the intro. We mentioned a little bit about Leia, but we'll get the fun side of the discussion going now. Dave, Obi-Wan Kenobi praying for Qui-Gon Jinn. Talk me through it. What were you feeling? What were you hoping?
We know, look, they're giving us so much. I mean, you kind of think, oh God, we're such an early part of the series, but this was the halfway point as well, which is kind of crazy that we're almost towards the back end now. But obviously, the tease of Qui-Gon has been from episode 1, him asking for help. The first episodes where he's pretty much shut himself off from the Force, it seems, since the last 10-year period, and he's just starting to kind of maybe not even embrace it fully yet. He still seems in a full, like, he's still very broken. His PTSD is absolutely just rife. I mean, the moment when, spoiler alert, Vader turned up in the town and he felt it, and you could just, it was just, it's just amazing. We'll get to it. But yeah, so him praying to Qui-Gon is starting to feel like he might be getting a little bit more connection than he had. I don't think he's certainly not back to the Obi-Wan Kenobi that we knew. He's certainly the Ben Kenobi that we'll further down the line. That's not quite the Jedi he was ever going to be again. But I mean, I just love the fact that they're pulling this tease and they're just stretched out that little bit every episode that you think, oh, this could be it. You're going to hear him. No, okay, we're not. But I'm loving that we're going to get him and we know he's coming, and it's still going to be a massive surprise when he shows up.
Yeah, there's still that like little part of me that's like, oh, he's not gonna. Only because it has been so long, more so than like anyone else really. There's been such a gap between appearances. So the idea of having Liam Neeson, whether it's just his voice or an actual Force Ghost appearance, I'm really not sure. But to the idea was there before the show came out, and then it kind of but it would be nice. But then the first episode came out, and it was like, oh, this was what Yoda said at the end of the recap. Like, okay, and oh, he said it in the first episode. You go, how and when?
But like Sam, with being a similar age, I always feel bad when I do this. We were like, when we spoke a lot about the because I think our intro to Star Wars was nearer that, being the kids when Phantom Menace came out. You weren't that much older. I'm saying that. That's sorry. I need to find a better way of saying this to you every week.
Basically, when you were older than us, when we were young,
there was just something about like growing up. Liam Neeson wasn't Neeson growing up. It was what Qui-Gon Jinn's in this film. Is that Qui-Gon Jinn voicing that lion? Is that Qui-Gon Jinn in Batman? Is this Qui-Gon Jinn in Shun? Is this when you get too old? And he's so identifiable as Qui-Gon Jinn, a character he played once in 1999. And I think there's just something about the presence he had, his performance in that film, and the fact he did die, and he's that father figure to Anakin in that film. He's always been the most fascinating Jedi, and I'm not going to get to the whole like canon thing of Dooku or this or the dark stuff. He didn't agree with them, blah blah blah. The core is what you said there, Sam. It went from thinking, could this happen? It's gone from now a could to when, which is amazing. And it's so centric to the plot, which is what I didn't expect it to be. I thought it would literally just be a random point where Qui-Gon's, a bit like Yoda in Last Jedi. Luke wasn't begging for Yoda to turn up for the first 2/3 of it. He turned up at the pristine moment, and I think that's what I thought a Qui-Gon cameo would be. But it's so satisfying knowing it's part of the story, that it's integral to Kenobi's character arc now. And the most crazy thing about it, so I don't know if you two are both familiar with the Revenge of the Sith cameo that didn't happen. They'd obviously written it down for him to clearly go in it as a Force ghost, and he had, I think, a motorbike accident and couldn't make the filming dates. And to think, okay, all ifs and buts and coincidence, but 17 years later, if you hadn't had that cameo, we're probably not going to get an entire story arc about how is Obi-Wan Kenobi going to find him. And when that moment happens, I will be weeping. I don't care. I will be absolutely balls to the wall knowing that Liam Neeson has not returned Star Wars for the first time, but returned in live action, I guess is the politer term of saying it, because he's been in Clone Wars, he's going to be in the new series, and the Qui-Gon Renaissance, we need to get a better term for it, is happening. And I'm just curious what you sort of both think as well. Like, are you glad he's probably going to be in it? I'm sure no one isn't glad.
How can you not be? He's integral to that relationship. He brought Anakin and Obi-Wan together. Asked him at the end as he was trying to make sure he trained the boy, which technically I guess Obi-Wan did, but kind of failed at the same time. And I'm wondering if Qui-Gon Jinn is going to be the extra life power that he's going to need to defeat Vader towards the end of this show. We'll get to it later, but he was absolutely bested by Vader without Vader looking like he was ever in any difficulty. It looked very simple and straightforward from this rage monster of awesomeness. So I think I can't wait for it to come back with this special set of skills to boost Obi-Wan to finish being the master, and Vader still to be the learner when he leaves the end of this show.
Yeah, and I think what I'm really kind of intrigued by, is just having hopefully a conversation, kind of like similar to, Obi-Wan and Luke on Dagobah, just to sit down, nothing else, and just hearing these two exchange words. They had such a good relationship in episode 1, and it's like I played that Obi-Wan game when I was a kid, and you would have those like missions just before Phantom Menace where it had those two together, and it was kind of like you want to see what more of those two together is like. And the fact that Obi-Wan feels like he needs Qui-Gon after all this time, I think after his passing, he just trained Anakin and went on and just kind of like rolled with the punches and went on. But now it's kind of like he's totally alone. He's got nothing else. And he kind of is reverting a bit to feeling like he's not a Jedi Knight, not a master. He's just this person who, for the longest time, has been in control and now doesn't. I think it's funny that, and I think we'll probably touch upon it later, but just that he mentions, Obi-Wan mentions his family, and he has just such vague recollections of that, but obviously he has a much stronger connection with Qui-Gon, or had one. So it must be kind of tearing him apart as well that he's not got access to him, even although he knows that he probably can do. So I think it will be, I'm hoping that it's going to be a real standout moment, and that I hope that Liam Neeson kind of really, kind of gives it his all, and just, that the writing matches as well, because Liam Neeson is a great actor, and Ewan's proved so much with this show, that I think just coming together and him talking about Anakin and talking about what happened and what could have gone wrong. A lot of people have kind of said about Qui-Gon not being great. I know there was one video on YouTube, I'm not sure if it's still around, where it says quite like the worst Jedi ever or something. And I think a lot of people don't like that. Quite like, people see that Qui-Gon had so much power that him being around could have diverted what happened. I don't think people like that, because he was he was only in one episode in one film. But I think it's, so many people have talked since about the importance of Qui-Gon and his role in this series and in Anakin's journey, that I think you can't really deny it now. And I think just to hear his point of view on things of whilst he's been gone will just be so exciting. So I cannot wait.
No, it's a really good point. You've said that as well, especially what others think. And I think the big one was the Filoni video with the gallery of season 1 of Mando, when a lot of people first sort of discovered that theory, if Anakin's journey changed was to Qui-Gon's death. Great comment here. Hashtag Qui not gone. That's a very, very good one. I'll be trying to use that as much as I can. It's going to happen, and it's mega again. And some people like to moan and say, "Oh, people just want cameos." Well, this isn't a cameo. To a point, it is, but this is story. This is character development, character arcs, and he's 100% in that. And I guess with the opening stuff, we can talk about the whole journey to the, what would we call it? Was it like it wasn't an Imperial base, but it just reminded like a southern Texas town. I know it's got a Planet the Mining facility, but
it felt very Earthbound, didn't it? That was one of the things that it's lovely when they shoot in real locations, which that very much seemed it was. Some of them just seem very much like we found a desert out the back and we'll shoot out there. So it felt, until they got into the village when it was a bit dark and it looked more Star Warsy. At first, it was like, that's just some stormtroopers out in the plains somewhere. It was, but sometimes that kind of takes you out a little bit. But it's just, I've got no real complaints about this. I'm such a happy clapper. It's really understated.
Yeah, I think the planet was called Mapuzo, and then just based on what Obi-Wan said, apparently it used to be a lot better before all the mining happened. And of course, it's one of those things where Empire came in and stripped the land of its resources and whatnot and made it more desolate. So just another thing to add to the Empire of ruining another planet and ruining more lives. Before we get to that later scene with Vader ruining even more lives.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. Speaking of lives that have been ruined, both of you took that private message. But aside from this, let's talk that journey. Going from, the alien thing that picked them up, we now know is Zach Braff. And I'm going to be really blunt. Is it Scrubs he's famous for, or ER, one of the medical comedy shows?
Scrubs directing as well. Garden State.
Yes, he directed some of Ted Lasso as well. And
he did, Ted Lasso. He did a couple of episodes on.
I know him as being with Florence Pugh.
An old thing.
I literally know him from being with Florence Pugh and talking about unfair abuse. That there's a lot of insane abuse to him and Olivia Wilde because they're with famous partners, which are younger, which is a bit grim. But this is where it felt so real, and this is going to sound horrid, and it isn't my intention. But there's certain what do they call it? The Deep South in America, don't they? Those kind of states. It's like, let's take a farmer, have him in with the Nazis, and just driving them across town. Now, that's my observation of it. I like the alien design. But it was when they got there and he's like, yeah, go check them out. They're suspicious. Obviously, I understood why and what they were doing and stuff, but that truck, I don't know what it is, tractor lift, don't know. There's a term for it somewhere. When they put the thumbs up, hitchhiking, sorry. I did not expect to get tension with stormtroopers on it. I did not expect to get very intense with the stories, but what it all led to, which I really want to quickly bring up, is the genius of young Leia. This is a credit to the writing, the performance, and the direction, because I think directing young actors and actresses is a very tricky thing. I don't think directors get accoladed for it. I don't think they get applauded for working with young children, and it's a very hard thing to do. But the performance of Vivian, I mean, when she works out he knew who Padme was. Obviously, she doesn't know who Padme is, but she just says, isn't she, like, you're lying. You knew who my mother was. Are you my father? I was like, oh my, like, I was not expecting this in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and it's so painful for me as a viewer as well, because it's, again, I've joked in the past saying I just want a really depressing Obi-Wan series for like 6 hours and 6 episodes, and we're kind of getting it. Like, he is a tortured man, and I just didn't expect conversations about Padme. And again, just full credit to the production team for it, because it's so much more that I imagine this series could be. And just going off the performance of the young Leia actress as well, I just loved that whole scene. Again, the fact that she was being as Leia as possible. He says, just don't speak, and she's the one of the stories. And getting them out of the bad scenarios. And it's exactly what Leia would be at that age, especially when you're raised as essentially royalty on the planet you're from. You would be intelligent. I just absolutely love everything we've seen of the last 2 episodes. And this one as well was just, that 5-10 minute down. When the stormtrooper gears up and is, sort of saying, like, hold on, that's not her name. I was just sat there like, oh my gosh. But yeah, what do you both think of that scene? Because I think that's a really important scene. I know we've got the big one later, but there was a lot of underrated moments due to how great it ends.
I think you're right. Playing young Leia, she's been perfect. She is exactly what you expect from her. I love the story. I love that Obi-Wan can see Padme in her so much that she's at the forefront of his mind. I think his friendship with Padme is something that was kind of maybe glossed over a little bit in the movies. I don't know, at some point it was going to be like a love triangle, like in episode 3, which drove Anakin a bit further. But I love the interplay. I think Ewan McGregor is for this little girl to be able to learn from Ewan McGregor, who is at the top of his game. He is so good in this show. That slip up when he made that line to then flip that around and say, oh, every time I look at her face, I see her mother. And it's heartbreaking. And he plays it so well. And I just thought it was a great story that they were telling these stormtroopers, that you almost felt the stormtroopers was going to, oh, I'm sorry for your loss, as they were going to get off the transporter. It really sold it to them. But I think it was a really, really nice scene. And for what was a slow build, and I felt in the first sort of half of the show, it really did drive up the tension to them getting to the next part of it, to the next village, to those laser gates.
Yeah, Padme for me is one of kind of my favorite female characters. And I think she was one of the first ones, that I ever kind of like looked up to. I'd watched Leia in the original trilogy, but I very much, was attached to, the prequel characters in general, but especially to Anakin and to Padme. So much so that Padme was probably one of the only females that I've had cut out a picture and put on my wall when I was a kid. But it's so nice to see that she's not being ignored. What's great about this show is that they really are leaning into the prequel content and throwing it in there, because that is what would happen. And I think it can, confuse some people, I think, a little bit, because you kind of, especially if you watch the original trilogy and you don't hear these references at all. But I think this is why this is such a good opportunity to do so, because, things like The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett are set after Return of the Jedi, and they can interlink and have those references and stuff, and that's fine. But this is really the first time that we've got expanded content, live action content in this time. So it's a great opportunity to do so. And I really love that, they fit this lovely story in there, which is, is partially true, but it's still a cover for them, and then managed to maintain, kind of their positions on it. Although I had something in my head about it that I was gonna say, and I've completely forgotten what it was, which is really annoying. But yeah, I think the performances are fantastic, and I think she did such a great job with it. And it's weird to kind of think that she knows that she's not the daughter of Bail, and that she knows and she wants to know where she comes from. And I think maybe, with that in mind, it might help with the sequel trilogy and help with her connection with Rey. Maybe that for a long time, Leia was unsure. And yes, even though she had people, she wasn't sure of who she actually was. And I think it was really sweet that she kind of she said to Obi-Wan, "Oh, you, my father," which is super, super sweet that she would even just go to. I think it shows like the trust that she's built up in such a short space of time. I did remember what I was going to say. Like, some people in comments, and I think especially during episode 2, had mentioned that Obi-Wan was talking about Sabine and stuff. And whilst I think you can, from a certain point of view, in the last episode, that could have, sure, it could have worked. With this, I think if people still think that he's referencing Sabine and not Padme, then I'm a little bit confused by that even more, because I mean, obviously, it's all about the look, and Leia is literally Padme's daughter. But that just shows the power that the Clone Wars has had, clearly, and how much people relate to that character and want her to be mentioned, which I just think is good to know. But I think you really need to look at. I think it is quite obvious what they're trying to say and tell here.
No, it's a really good point. I'm going to bring up the race stuff very quickly, actually. But first, a couple of comments. Bavari, the psyche. Oh, but no, it's not coming up on the screen. There we go. The psyche of Obi-Wan and Leia are the opposite. He only sees only the negative and she the positive, and that's what I loved. Like so many great dramas that utilize young actors, it's the innocence of childhood, and she's smarter than the innocence of it. But I just love their working relationship with each other, and it's worked a lot better than I thought. I say we didn't know this was going to happen, but I'm really enjoying just how he's interacting with her, and we're starting to see, the blossoms of what Alec Guinness's Kenobi is, and just put the effort to decide where to spend the budget. It's not high enough for 6 episodes of new CGI planets. We've got the 40 minutes LOAs, and listen, it looked phenomenal when you got the shots of them arriving on the planet and everything. And sometimes I still have to sit and think, it's this TV budget, and not to sort of poke fun, but I keep doing it. I'm pretty sure this budget's 150 mil. She-Hulk's 250 mil. Yes, it's not. Yeah, okay. But you get some shows that don't ever look at the budget, and Strange Things, the new series, phenomenal. No spoilers here, but that does not look like $30 million an episode. It looks phenomenal though, but it's incredible. And license to create the Imperial flag could have been the Confederate flag. Didn't even think of that. That's very well said. Back of the car, painted on. It's not even like a real flag. A lot of good stuff in there, and yeah.
Just before I forget, I did want to just add a quick thing. I kind of want to get you guys' opinion as well. Is that what I've also seen in terms of audience response to Obi-Wan's relationship with Leia and what he's saying to her, is that a lot of people are saying how it's maybe not right that Obi-Wan is referencing Padme so much in that and not Anakin, because a lot of people, and I think most of us would agree, that Leia is more like Anakin and Luke is more like Padme. But I think what the great thing about what this show is doing right now, and I think if you kind of look at the other media that we've got, is that you can see both of them in there. And whilst I think Leia has kind of like an impulsive side, and is very will go head first into things. She does have kind of like that political side that even she's so good with words, which is what Padme was probably most well known for. And I just wanted to kind of like get a quick thing about what you thought of it.
No, it's a really good question. I think she is the perfect blend, and this is kind of how I feel with this so far. I mean, I don't mean to diss Luke Skywalker. This isn't where I'm going to go there, but leaving Luke out of this is so important, because it just wouldn't work for this show. I know he wouldn't have been in it anyway, but to spend time with Luke would be a lot harder than with Leia, just because there's so many different things. Whereas Leia is the politician, she is the daughter, she's the one that doesn't enter the series as a Skywalker until later. Apologies if someone can hear neighbours' dogs again. I keep saying this a lot on these videos recently. I get them at 2 in the morning. It's absolutely losing my head. But Dave, I'm going to head over to you while I mute myself, and then I want to bring up something else about Ben Solo once we've got this up out of the way too.
No, I think obviously it is so heavily focused on Padme and who her mother is, and I think it's kind of plays into the way Obi-Wan's kind of now the realization that Darth Vader is still alive and still Anakin's still alive inside of that Darth Vader. So the last thing he kind of knew of Anakin was this guy who was fallen to the dark side, and now he knows he's this monster. So I think it's kind of, he's almost kind of guarding Leia a little bit as well. Like he speak of her mother and how great she was, and she was a leader, and instilling all of this positivity that's around, that his feelings around Padme were, whereas he doesn't have, while he's got that love of Anakin, that's, I think it's still buried far too deep for him to now come out and go, and there was this boy and he was like my brother and I loved him and he was your dad. I don't think he's ready to accept that side of it yet. He's just going, yeah, but your mother was amazing and I don't want to talk about the monster that your dad was when he did this to me. He calls this breakdown of me. That I see him in fields. I mean, like creepy Michael Myers.
I mean, let's talk that. I saw it, I was like, oh, we're getting Hayden. We're going to get Hayden. And we did, and it was very far away. Are we going to get him again, do we think? As in, not as Vader, as Anakin Skywalker? Do we think we're going to get, doesn't necessarily mean a flashback, more PTSD? Because the one thing I will say of that point is, so this is some of Ewan's best acting as Obi-Wan Kenobi in this episode today. And everything revolves around the PTSD with Anakin. He is absolutely killing it as an actor in this. But just those moments, and even the way the camera is, like Deborah Chow, you watch it, she goes to very uneasy angles with him. It makes it uneasy for the audience for him to view these things. It's not the very much simple, here's him looking into the distance far away. It's like right close-ups, angled low down. It's really interesting seeing how they've done it. I'm sort of, yeah. How do you think of that, Sam, as well? The Hayden stuff, because I know you brought it up straight away as well earlier.
Well, I mean, I think it would be, again, a wasted opportunity, whilst you've got these people and, you've got Hayden here. I think it was one thing in terms of story, Obi-Wan's psyche, when he thought that Anakin was dead. Now to know that he's alive, now that he knows that he's alive, that's when that first kind of like, specter, has appeared. And I think that's just going to probably continue. We've got 3 episodes to go. We've had one battle already. I think he's only going to get worse before he gets better. And so I think, that could, make more specters appear, cause flashbacks. I think it's so open. And, I know, George, you've mentioned to me that all the trailer footage has now been used. There's so much that we don't know, and there's so much that's been shown in the show that we never believed. Like, I mean, the idea that we've had Leia in all these episodes and, for so much time, I don't think we went into this not thinking that would be what was going to happen. So it's so open to, so open at this point, but I've got my fingers crossed. I really want to see more Hayden. I want to see him. It's great to see him as Darth Vader, but I want to see him, as Anakin Skywalker as well.
I just thought it was so. Sorry, I just want to say I just thought the shot itself was so well executed. When we saw him, like she didn't take the opportunity. Deborah Chow didn't take the opportunity to then go suddenly into this like full on. She could have really closed in on him as well, but shot him far away, turning around slightly for Obi-Wan's face and reaction to that, to then go back to him. And you probably thought most directors maybe would have pushed right in to see Hayden turn around as Anakin, but kept it at that really far. It was like a shot out of a horror movie. That's why I said Michael Myers earlier. You get that kind of beast in the distance, just this figure. Great.
Yeah, I got kind of like Shining vibes a little bit, just kind of like when I'm going to kill him for not knowing which room it is, but when he goes into the room and she's in the bath, and it's like that, and she like that's what I saw, and because you get a lot of his face. So that was kind of like what I thought. So yeah, I completely get that.
No, it's really good, and again, it's the direction of this, and credit to not just Deborah Chow actually, but I love The Mandalorian. I think we all love The Mandalorian here. Mandalorian is an episodic show. It is covering a different story almost every week, and you can afford to bring in different directors, different visions, filmmaking, stylistic approaches. But for something like Kenobi, we need that sheer consistency. And I think I really enjoyed Book of Boba Fett. There are issues with it, of course, but I enjoyed a lot of it. You can tell when a different director comes on board, and really, it's the same story. But for Deborah Chow to get all 6 episodes of this, I'm absolutely loving it. It gives that freedom. And when when Ewan spoke about it in the media, he said the same thing. He goes, "This, it's almost a film that's just twice the length now, and it's really starting to justify this runtime. I don't feel like they're trying to kill time. They're not stat padding on the side. They're using every moment so well." And then the last thing I'll say on the sort of the train, rather the ride in, a lot of stuff this week. I didn't clock it last week. One of the sort of, it's not really criticism of the sequels, but when a meme pops up and it's like poking fun at a plot hole, a bit like the exhaust port in A New Hope. The one that used to go around was so why has Princess Leia named her son, Ben, when she's never met him? And I always used to laugh that. It is quite funny. Now we're actually getting a relationship with her and Ben Kenobi, and it's not here to fix anything to the sequels, but I'm loving that how people are reading it. What you said earlier, Sam, as well. How Leia is in this, it can reflect upon her relationship with Rey in 9, and it's going to be really interesting viewing the episode 4 stuff onwards after this series is done to see what the impact of this series has made on that. And as a lot of people call it, this is almost episode 3.5. This is bridging the gap, slap bang in the middle, and I'm quite curious to see what else the two of them may get up to, because it's not getting the Mandalorian comparisons as well, in the way that Mando's the father figure to Baby Yoda. Yes, that's that, but these are two inherently different shows. The fact that Kenobi isn't a soulless bounty hunter on the outside, he is this. He's a weathered character we know and familiar with, and Leia's not she's not an alien, she's not Baby Yoda. But obviously, the cuteness of Baby Yoda is he's a cute thing. He can't speak, can't do anything. It's really interesting that the Mando and Kenobi are almost two similar story arcs. It was a one-line description, yet they couldn't be anything more different from what we've seen so far. I don't know if anyone's thought about that at all, or anything in that way. It's
hard not to find the comparisons in it because of the child guardian thing that we're having in a similar set. Obviously, a similar set universe in the same universe, but you're right. It's such a different version of the character that we're getting, and obviously getting these original characters and new takes on, well, not new takes on them, but certainly new take on Leia, and then this version we're getting again of Obi-Wan is, I can see why people would look at it and say that, but I think it's just it's still miles apart in terms of the actual story that we're getting told.
Yeah, these types of stories, they've been done for so long, and I think there's been different ways that those kinds of relationships have been interpreted and shown. I think of films like The Road. You've kind of got X-Men with Wolverines there. You've got kind of like The Last of Us as well. That kind of stuff. Where it's very focused on kind of an adult and a child, and whether their parents or companions on a journey. That can go in so many different directions, but with this, you've got two people who are so linked, but do not know each other at all. But know the different worlds. So I think that's really interesting because they're learning stuff about each other. Some for the first time, some it's kind of getting reacquainted with information, and then seeing where that leads, and especially when it's someone who's so young and so hopeful compared to someone who's just so beaten down and has completely lost faith, essentially. What you were saying before about Leia and the name Ben, this does this is just one thing in which kind of makes that make more sense. I said earlier, I kind of believe that Leia in this series is going to meet Vader, because it makes I think that could happen because it makes her meeting Vader on the Tantive and A New Hope make a little bit more sense. She's not frightened. She knows who he is. It would make sense that they would meet, would have no idea who each other are, and then that's it. Potentially, I know a lot of people have said about Return of the Jedi and Leia saying how she's kind of seen her mother, and a lot of people have said, oh, it's kind of like a Force thing during the birth, but there's potential that there could be a thing where either there's a sense or something happens during this. We don't know, but I think that's what's so it's what's so exciting is that this is Revenge of the Sith 3.5. A lot of people have said that this should have been a film, which kind of annoys me a bit because I feel like this is a better way to actually tell this story, is through kind of like an episodic drama like this. Sorry, go on, George.
No. I was sort of nodding that because the one thing that really annoys me is when people like release the 4-hour Got Revenge of the Sith. I'm like, it probably doesn't actually exist, people. Like, I don't think people know what like a first edit is, rough cut. But they're like, Kenobi should be a film. I was like, we're getting a 4-hour film. It's called Kenobi, but it's split across the TV series. Like, this is going to watch as a film. And what I'm absolutely off my rocker for is when episode 6 comes out, the night before, I will be watching 1 to 5. Back to back. I will do that binge. Lovely if they could release it at midnight. But yeah, I mean, we've almost gone 45 minutes and we haven't even got to the check-in point. We've had a really good discussion so far, but let's talk about, arriving to the gate, the whole we actually haven't even spoken about stuff preceding this. Before we get to the Imperial probe droids, let's have a chat about some Inquisitors. And if we go back to the opening moments of the show, I don't know how on earth we've glossed over this. We haven't even spoke about it. Build-A-Bear, starring Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader. I saw the Mustafar explosion, and I thought, no way. I was like, Dave's Lego Darth Vader castle is even more bloody jealous of it now, more than ever. Because we went back to Mustafar. I say back to the castle. This is in continuity terms the first time we're going to get it now, technically, if you're watching it in all in order. And I just loved his little Skype call. I loved how uncomfortable he looked on the chair. I love the fact he's got his own throne. I know they didn't get to do that stuff in Rogue One, but just setting up Reva from the get-go, the return of Vader, it wasn't this big moment in episode 5. I thought it probably would have been. I thought, tease in episode 1, maybe a tease towards episode 2 was the tease, wasn't it? But I thought you'd get like the end few seconds every episode building up towards it. But no, Vader full costume, chatting and also saying, winning you're the Grand Inquisitor, losing, well, you're dead. How do you think of that setting up Reva's story arc or furthering Reva's story arc? Because James Earl Jones' voice, man, like it was just hearing the voice when the first words came out. I was like, oh my God, like we are back in business. And it's just so heartwarming. The whole thing, this whole series has been heartwarming, dramatic, emotional, but just knowing Hayden Christensen is in a suit and James Earl Jones is doing the voice is just perfect.
Chef's kiss. I think it's phenomenal to see Vader getting put together. You kind of don't get from even in Revenge of the Sith, you don't kind of get at how uncomfortable he is in that suit and how actually it's put together on him. Like the chest plate, I think we discussed it when we were discussing the trailer, that goes into his chest, actually plugs in. Obviously, it is a breathing apparatus, which I never even thought about really. That's what was actually in his chest helping me. I always thought it was just the mask. It just looks like everything is sort of it's a part. It's like his armor that's in his body. Just it looks so awful when it's getting put together. But to just get that full dive when he walked away from when he'd first been put together in episode 3, Hayden didn't feel like he quite fit the suit. I know they put him in sort of higher shoe, and obviously he had the thing in his head to kind of hold the helmet up a bit higher. But to me, it's never, when he falls on it never looks like, obviously it's his first time in the suit, and yes, he's going to look different. And obviously they made that mask symmetrical, which didn't look quite right. But for me, just never looked like filled the suit. This looked like classic Darth Vader. That looked like the Darth Vader I've always known and adored. And to see, that it's Hayden inside that outfit doing that still was just wonderful. And then you get, say, James Earl Jones. I mean, George and I have discussed throughout the day on Messenger if we think that is James Earl Jones and his is credited. And yes, it's his voice, but I am wondering if it's more of the AI manipulation voice to just pick sounds and run it through. It sounds awful. James Earl Jones is obviously getting on in age, and the performance was perfect. It was that deep, dark voice. I know George had mentioned earlier as well. I think you mentioned the Rogue One, where he did sound a bit older in his voice. Not like he was decrepit Vader, but he did sound older as an older man speaking.
No, I don't mind saying this. I mean, obviously, I'm really big on autographs, so this is obviously going off. I mean, obviously, the raw one is don't be what read off social media, but so in a Facebook group, I'm in got a James Earl Jones autograph very recently, and he's one of he's one of the biggest legends of Star Wars, and just getting into it a bit later with me, you miss out on your Frank Oz's and James Earl Jones, who did it for decades until the times of eBay and all that sort of stuff. And obviously, with his age now, then also coming to America too. Unlucky for you, for me too. But James Jones was in it for 5 minutes, and he was the best thing in it for 5 minutes. And through these autograph groups, they've said he doesn't sign anymore. He's not been well. Obviously, he's 91. Let him rest, which is my most important thing. He's 91. He's a legend of not just Star Wars, but theater and cinema, and And I didn't know if we'd get his voice back. And I know we got, as I said, a Rise of Skywalker. We got the I've Been All the Voices Inside Your Head, which I loved. Rogue One, Rebels, and this is right. I really hope this doesn't come across rude. So someone forgive me. It's just trying to phrase it right. But with his health, I just didn't expect the voice to sound like perfectly the voice from 77 to 83, because again in Rogue One, there's I don't like using the word age, but obviously it's set before 4, but it's sort of 20, 30 years later. In anyone's good age. Mark Hamill's voice isn't the same, and they run the AI on Book of Boba Fett. Now, there is a very good conversation to be had about the AI stuff. Does it take it too far? Is it, where are the morals lying? This isn't the video for that. Down the line, the more thing you could probably speak about is the Tarkin stuff more than anything. But if anyone's seen Top Gun Maverick, I'm not going to spoil it, but in real life, Val Kilmer can't speak anymore through his throat cancer, and he spoke about the company that was able to get him an AI voice, and him and his family sort of broke down when they heard it because they'd aged it to what he would sound like now. And, technology is an incredible thing, dependent on the use of it. And for something like this, no, this is overstepping, this is more the Val Kilmer side, it can be really magical to see these things. And, Vari, there we go, he sent it for me. The company tech is mentioned in the credits 100%. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and say I need James Earl Jones to voice everything like this. Absolutely not. Again, he's 91, let him rest. But if he's been able to go to a studio for a day, record some lines as Vader, that's so cool. And again, it's just them putting it through some other stuff to make it sound like it's from the 80s. Do I sound like I'm just turning into like an IT person? I don't know. Someone jump in, because again, the tech, I'm a sucker for like technology stuff in film. Like, don't get me started on motion capture and things like I get really carried away. But it's quite an exciting, dangerous, and incredible technology combined into one.
No, I agree. I'm definitely more on the side of let's try it out and let's see what it can do. I mean, technology is always going to develop, and it's going to be used in a number of different ways. I mean, you look at George Lucas, and he was a pioneer for it. What his original films did, helped build a new way of creating films, and he tried to do that again with the prequels. And obviously, that was so early in kind of like CGI still, and look how far that has developed. Now we're at another stage of that. So I think it's just another progression of technology. And so to kind of hear voices, and I only found out that Val Kilmer thing earlier today and heard it. So I mean, to kind of use it, I think my main thing is just making sure that whoever's voice or image you're using, you have their permission. I know it's difficult when it's someone who's passed away, and for that, I would guess it would be like the family's estate and all of that stuff. But I think if everyone is happy with it, then do it. If you don't like it, then that's fair enough. But some of these actors and characters are so interlinked. Like, I've heard so many different types of Darth Vader of different voices, but James Earl Jones is Darth Vader, and personally, I wouldn't want anyone else to voice Darth Vader, because his voice is so iconic. It's just so unique, and to not have that, to never hear that voice again, would be a great shame. And of course, 50 years ago that would be the case, but now, if with this option, potentially we'll be able to hear it in the future. And I think, that's his legacy. If he doesn't want that, then absolutely fine. But just in terms of his introduction to Darth Vader's introduction into this episode, it was a weird kind of joy to have this horrendous thing happen, see these metal arms and legs and everything be put on this body. Horrendous to see, but such a joy at the same time, because you know that you are linking this man with this machine. You're seeing it come together, and to see Hayden's face in there, and then suddenly it's just shrouded by this helmet, and then to just have the lights, have all of that, and then suddenly he's full Darth Vader, and it's amazing to see. And then just with his conversation with Reva, I think I'm still unsure about her character at the moment, just because I think there's still some layers that we need to peel away first, and she's not there yet in terms of the story. I'm sure that's going to happen in the next couple of episodes. But I got a great kind of sense of Sidious, Palpatine with Anakin when Anakin's on Mustafar, and kind of that Anakin's in the hologram, and then Palpatine's at his desk. I kind of got that similarity there, a bit of Revenge of the Sith, and I thought that was quite cool. But yeah, I think it's great that Vader then just had that, okay, well, you're either going to do this right or you're dead. Essentially, I just love that he's still just like, you know what, this is it. So yeah, really good.
No, exactly. And he had that great line, didn't he? Like, the Grand Inquisitor means nothing to me. And I was like, oh, like, there goes the whole week of Twitter recently. Well, the Grand Inquisitor side of Twitter recently, where people are, apparently he's got 2 stomachs. I mean, if Phil was here, he'd confirm that for us. But that reminds me, I've got Phil's notes to read out later on. I've never known there's ever been a discussion about what species have multiple stomachs in Star Wars. And it's a beautiful thing about Star Wars. That's not something I have any issue with. Bavari, quick comment. I agree. I never want to see CGI catfish in a real Star Wars movie. I'm the same with you. Again, what Sam said, when they have the permission of the family, of the individual, James or Jones, I'm sure would have given them permission. Hamill, who was literally on set on Book of Boba Fett, obviously they've got his permission. And obviously when you get to sort of Tarkin, the estate did, and I think that's where the rightful question should come into it. And the Carrie Fisher stuff, I mean, Billy Lord is within the Star Wars world. She played her in 9. I know that they then did they CGI on top of her face for the training helmet moment. But I'm the same right. I wouldn't want them to be like, let's do a Princess Leia film set between like 6 and 7. Unless you were recasting that, I would be worried. Get Billy Lord to do it. Inquisitor was. I mean, we can. I'm not too fussed about talk. I keep forgetting his Inquisitor. There's so many brothers and sisters in the Inquisitor. I keep forgetting who's who. The one played by Han from Fast and Furious. That's all I know him as.
Fifth brother.
Fifth brother. Question for both of you. A lot more screen time in this episode. I know we had a bit of beef with her in episode 1 on Tatooine. Do we think there's the sort of who's next in line type conversation, but I really hope that Reva's storyline isn't intertwined into being just I want to be the top Inquisitor. I don't think it will. But how do you feel with his stuff? Do you think they're just trying to give him a bit more screen time, maybe? Or do you think we're worrying about her dropping off into a separate subplot? I've got nothing against it. I'm just curious because it was not what I expected with him today, if I'm being honest.
I think there is so much more that we're going to get to Reva's story in the next 3 episodes. And I don't know if she's saying what she's going to get, what she wants, what she deserves. And I don't know if that is what they're all thinking that she wants, to be the right-hand side of Vader. I've just got a feeling that we're going to get a character turn in her story somewhere towards the end. I don't think she's the bad guy that we all are being led to believe. And that's just my opinion. I think we will get some kind of twist on her, and I think she might do away with the lesser Inquisitors who aren't in things in future games and things like that, and Rebels and things. So yeah, I'm expecting quite a big turn. So I do think it's important to still get how much almost infighting for this position that they say fifth brother, is that the one it is? Sorry. Is trying to give, so she goes to Vader first, then he goes to Vader later, like dad, I've done this, dad, look at me for a bit. So it's very much like they want this attention. But yeah, I think it is important to get it, but for me it's only because I think later we're going to get a twist in the tail for Reva.
Yeah, I think it's important that line that he says to her and that she repeats back about what they deserve. He's definitely thinking one thing and she's thinking a completely other thing. They're not talking about the same thing. Yes, the Grand Inquisitor, role is the link there, but I think they've got two completely different, plans in their mind. And I think there will be a twist. I either believe that Reva's going to become more a tragic character, or she's just going to turn like full on evil and just want power. But I think that they wouldn't. I don't believe that they would go that way. But I think that's kind of like the only other option. I can't see her, turning good or anything, or actually being the good guy. I feel like she may want, to get close to Vader and maybe, have answers. I saw you do this. You created this. Maybe that's in there. She may want to take him on. I think there's so many questions. There's so many different routes that they could go with, and I think that's the thing. Everyone's got their own idea of what they think is going to happen with this character. So I'm intrigued, but we still need to see. I think the next, hopefully something will be answered in the next episode. But if not, we definitely just need to hold out.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point, and we've got Eliza's career as well. My money's on being one of the kids at the beginning. I am 100% with you on that.
She is.
At the start, I thought, oh, this is a really cool flashback to Order 66, because it was. And then obviously when you do a bit of reading, you think, hold on, that could easily be Reva. There's even the way she scorned at the Jedi logo today, I thought was really fascinating. She did a bit of I call it the Tron thing when he sort of swept the table. I think we're going to get a lot more from her. Pavari. Maybe Anakin killed the other 4 kids and she somehow saw it and survived. This is a theory that I've seen that I'm kind of... I don't want to sit here theorizing. I don't normally do it, but I feel this fascination with Kenobi, yes, we all have it in our personal lives. She strikes me as one that she knows who Anakin is, and I think inherently she would have found out that Obi-Wan trained Anakin. Now, this is just what I think, she will blame Kenobi essentially for the destruction of the Jedi, for the death of her people, for turning Anakin into what he is. That's my feelings with the matter. But I'm really excited to see her story fleshed out. And what I've kind of said every week with Moses Ingram is that when the press tour started, it wasn't just Hayden Ewan. Moses Ingram did the entire press tour with Deborah Chow as well, and those two, which to me means she's integral to this story. And we got it again, even at the ending, not even her disobeying orders, but the fact she's got Leia. Is setting up the next story point with her. I'm really excited to see where her arcs come from. And I think before we all spoke about Fallen Order. I'm really hoping she doesn't go the same as Trilla from that, where I'm guessing there will be some similarities, but I really hope it's not a carbon copy storyline just because it would be too obvious. And one thing I've seen floated around is maybe Kenobi will have to kill her. Maybe she'll work out who Leia is, and maybe she'll work out who Luke is. And there's so many interesting things. And when those two get the face off, I think we're going to get a very interesting story perspective and discussion from the duo. Am I overthinking it, or do we think that's quite likely?
No, I think you're absolutely spot on. I think there's a big climax coming. Over certainly the last. We'll get another episode, and the last 2 obviously going to build into a big climax of where we're going to end up. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right to be in that position with it.
Yeah, she already knows so much more than most people know. She already knows who Vader is, and not many people would know that at all. So she's already kind of got a leg up on everyone else. So it will only take some things to allow her to realize who Leia is. And I think you're exactly right in terms of I think she does. I think she will know who Obi-Wan is in relation to Anakin and blame him. And I think that's just going to cause him even more problems. But no, I want to just see if that is it, and how are they going to do that? Because I don't think she'll survive.
No, so it's the same as you. I don't think she'll make it out, but I think we'll have one hell of a legacy with the character. And the last one we'll speak about before we get to the main event. I promise you, we're almost there. Indira Varma playing the role of Tala. Now, when I saw those photos of her as the Imperial, I was like, she's going to make a fantastic Imperial officer, British, tough, be really cool. And she's not even a big twist 5 seconds in. How do you feel about not necessarily her character, but her being part of this almost rebel-like group? They call themselves the Path, and they're essentially getting Force-sensitive people off planets with safe travel. I thought she was very interesting. I'm not going to lie, because And again, good marketing. Make everyone think she's the Imperial because we got the one shot of her in her Imperial clothes. I really like this actress. I've seen her in a lot of stuff. I'm actually seeing her on she's doing a play of Amelia Clark that opens soon, which I've got tickets to. Maybe I'll have to take a Kenobi poster. Who knows? But I've really enjoyed it. And that giant robot that can't speak that I suddenly felt really sad for. It reminded me of the people from
back ready to do some killing of stormtroopers.
Yeah, it's Monsters Inc. The what they called when they wear the yellow things to collect their socks and all that. The robot look like them, but I loved her little story arc, and she's somehow she hasn't somehow she has survived at the moment. She didn't run into Reva, which is what I thought might have happened. I'm glad it didn't. But before we get to Vader, what do you both think of her? Do you like her or curious?
I thought it was perfect. I love the fact she was an Imperial. It wasn't just like she'd stolen a uniform from somewhere. She was an Imperial who believed in what the Empire was. As she said, she believed in what the Empire did at the start until she found out what kind of things the Empire were doing. She said she'd made some bad choices herself as well. And then she's rectifying this by now helping force children with force abilities to get to safety. And I think it's that lovely turn of like, I need to forgive myself for what I've done in the past under this guise of the Empire that I've now gone this way. I think it is a really nice start with like another, almost like you say, a rebel faction being there as well.
Yeah, I was super, super excited to see Indira Varma because I first saw her in Torchwood, and that was like 16 years ago. So I've known her for a long time, and obviously she was great in Game of Thrones. I mean, I thought she was great in Game of Thrones anyway. But but usually she does play more villain characters. So when I saw her in the Imperial outfit, I was kind of like, oh, I'm excited to see her, but oh yeah, she's a villain. So the fact that she turned, I was not expecting it. I was so happy because I think she really does play, kind of like, the hopefulness and kind of like the, a good character really well. So it was good to kind of get that opinion. And also for someone who actually is an Imperial, but at that level, an officer level as well, we don't really see that very often. Usually we just kind of get, like the captains or whatever leading ships, admirals, and then, potentially just being, evil. So it was just great to have that and to kind of like know that she's been working. We don't know too much of who with apart from one person, one Jedi, but she's doing her bit, and it may just be a small thing, but it's actually massive. It's massive what she's doing in supporting the cause. And so, but it opens up a lot of questions as well in who else is part of this group and where are these people going. I think this is a great side thing, and again, I would love her to survive because I'm intrigued by what she has done and what she could do, but I feel like she may fall at the hands of Reva, but who knows?
Yeah, it's a really exciting one with her. And
sorry, Josh. Yeah. Overtalk you there. Sorry. I just want to say, just while we're on that little bit, in that tunnel where the joy in Ewan's portrayal of joy when he saw Quinlan's name etched on the wall, that he'd been there through like this sudden rush of there's another Jedi out there that survived, and not just a random Jedi, but one he is like being friends with, has met, who he knows really well. It was just the moment of Quinlan was here. It was just Ewan McGregor was just on another level in this episode, in this show. It's just so good.
His performance in this episode was nothing short of superb, and I don't know if they're going to miss the Emmy window. I know it's around about now or something, but I'd imagine they'd submit a miniseries, even if he didn't get a nomination. Episode 3 is probably going to be the one of all the ones to go with, and well, maybe we'll find out. Maybe he gets some out better, but yeah, so far, it's time. Okay, everyone have a break. Let me have a drink. I mean, it came out of nowhere. I mean, we knew Vader was coming. We knew he'd probably be in it later on. When Obi-Wan just collapses, I thought, oh, maybe we'll see, a ship come, and he was just there. The PTSD direction from Deborah Chow is just phenomenal. And I'm just going to talk about the walk. The fact we don't get the Imperial March, which Natalie Holt has tweeted about. I've forgotten what she wrote, but it hinted at a conversation that happened between George Lucas, Deborah Chow, and Natalie Holt. I want to try and find it, actually. It was a really interesting tweet. but Darth Vader just murdering people. I mean, he snapped someone's neck at 8 a.m. on Disney Plus through the Force. Like, try telling someone, like, even 3 years ago, you could get that one day on Disney Plus. And not that I need like grotesque stuff, but the one thing I've always found with Darth Vader is because obviously, for many people, they grew up with Star Wars completed as an existence, right? The 3 films were out, or you were young when they all came out. That you never had that suspense of fear in between films or seeing him do something new for the first time. And obviously, in the world, in the universe, he's almost like a ghost, isn't he? That he'd only ever appeared to sort of kill people at this point in time. Fallen Order we spoke about tonight, he just appears at the end through the smoke. And in these moments, just when he just chokes that random person and then kills the kid, dragging the other one through the street. And it's amazing because this is exactly what we've been told Vader would be like at this point in the stories. That, again, Phil's not here tonight, but you hear that he's, pre A New Hope. At this point, he's unhinged, he's angry, and through his performance, one of my favorite moments is just him turning his head when he thinks he sees Kenobi. Like, it's so intense. Just that intro scene to him in the street, I would be terrified about as a child, which is phenomenal. I don't know what you two both speak about that scene, because I could just go on.
It's amazing. I think, like you said earlier when you were talking, when Sam you were saying about Vader getting all put together, this again was absolute joy, but horrific joy at the same time. Like, when you get to Vader in A New Hope, he's like Tarkin's lackey. He's in the Death Star and he's kind of lumbering around. He doesn't really, he kills Kenobi, but he's not doing much. And it seems everyone's kind of mocking him for that he talks about the Force still. He's still going on about it. And then you get sort of Empire and Jedi, and he's underneath the Emperor, but really it's the Emperor that's kind of the big bad. Vader's never really it. Then we got episode 3 where he was starting to get towards that, and now we obviously got Rogue One, and we saw that whole scene. We're like, this is Vader. No, it wasn't. This is Darth Vader. He was terrifying. You're right, pulling the guy out of the house with the Force. The break of the kid's neck is so brutal. Like, you would expect. I kind of expected when he started doing that, that's maybe what he'd do, but you wouldn't see the kid's head go off at a 90-degree angle when it happened. And just, it was one of those moments when you're watching something. Again, we'll do a YouTube thumbnail. One of those, because you just didn't see it happening, and pulling the mother or the woman through the street. And all of this is just him. He's doing it more and more to try and get Kenobi to come out and save them. He knows what he's doing. He knows the worse it gets, that Kenobi is going to be almost needing to go out there in the street and face him. That Ben Kenobi can't bring himself to do that because he's not Obi-Wan Kenobi anymore, that he wants to kind of run off and hide and get Leia to safety. Oh my God, what a scene. It was magical. The effect it had on me. He was terrifying.
Yeah, it's kind of like being put into a false sense of security because of what we saw with the Stormtrooper earlier on being split in half, which I thought was insane anyway. And I was like, oh, right, okay, well, great, love it. Suddenly, to have this happen was just so unexpected. And it was kind of like Reva's scene on Tatooine with the knife throw, but turned up to 1,000,000. Like, it was like, okay, that was a way to try and get a Jedi out of hiding. This is what I'm going to do. And literally, I'm just going to walk casually through a street, do this, look like I am, I don't know, Professor Xavier or something, and just make people do whatever. Like, it was insane. And to have that brutality, it was so brutal. And I couldn't even believe it, because you kind of expect in your mind, oh, well, Vader wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that. But the fact that you go, okay, this is like full out all blown villain. Just, it was so exciting, so unexpected, and the series has done this a lot so far, where things either happen sooner than expected or they weren't expected at all. And I think that's what's made this just such a tremendous watch so far, is that it's all related to the story, but it's so cool. And I think a lot of people can agree.
No, and that's it. We've got a couple of comments from Gabriel Vari. This is the Vader vision. When I saw episode 5, the first image of 14, it happened. He slapped the kid or teen. For me, Vader was more scary. The Imperial original was a fairy tale, even in my opinion. And this is what sort of fascinated me with him. I'm not saying it's justified. I mean, but just I'm trying to think of the right time. It's like appropriate to his character. Would you say like that is where he is at? And for him, he knows the guy is in the town. The guy that's turned him into what he is now. He's in that vicinity for the first time in 10 years. And obviously, it goes off what the Inquisitors said in episode 1, Jedi hunt themselves, their compassion is their weakness. Obi-Wan aimlessly watching from the window. And this is the one thing, it's the first time in all of Star Wars we've seen this, is Obi-Wan Kenobi is fearful. He was afraid. And he knew the moment he saw him, he knew why he was afraid. He knew he couldn't go out. But again, he gets Leia out. He's probably thinking, oh, like, shit, that's Anakin's daughter. I need to get her out. And it's just sudden. You didn't expect it. It's like, again, you just speculate, oh yeah, they'll meet up once. It'll probably be end of episode 5 and into episode 6 or something. But it was just, incredible. And it's completely sort of wiped out my expectations for the series. I know we're only 3 episodes, we haven't even got to the kind of duel. But I'm just sat saying, like, everything I thought we'd get has already happened. So what could possibly happen now? And it's just, I mean, moving into the scene that follows, the reunion, I guess you can call it. This is the really big thing for me, is when Vader's waiting for him. That was almost a thumbnail tonight. That's one of the ones that I sent to everyone to have a look at. It's too dark, couldn't see anything. Vader's waiting for him, but he doesn't say anything. It's just, and Kenobi gets the lightsaber out and he runs. And that was the thing for me. Obi-Wan Kenobi ran away. He was afraid of Darth Vader. And this is a credit to Ewan's performance, the physicality of it. And again, with the costume, with the hair, it's like a frightened older person. And I think Vader says to him, when they do sort of have a couple of, he says, the years haven't been kind to you, doesn't he? And it was just so incredible. And of course, Bavarius, but the look on his face when he lit up the lightsaber was one of pure terror. I mean, seeing Anakin with a red lightsaber was probably like devastating for him. But how do you both feel with the? I mean, we'll go up. For the timing, let's go up to the burning scene. How do you feel with the sort of the mini duel, the first standoff? I've got no issues with it. Some people complaining, saying that they thought this was the duel. This obviously isn't going to be the duel. This is setting up a kind of rematch of sorts. I keep joking, saying we're going to get like Qui-Gon Jinn and then a Rocky montage and then Kenobi versus Vader again. We're going to get something similar. But I'm just still taking it in, and I've seen it twice today. And I just, that whole moment. And if you even look at how Vader's fighting, and Obi-Wan doesn't even turn the lightsaber on until it's to defend himself. He isn't willing to turn it on until he has to. And Vader, like Luke in episode 6, he's just going at him like that. He isn't holding back. He's not spinning. He is just going in to kill him, to do everything. And of course, the immortal line there, this is what you made me. Like, it's just, go on, Dave.
Should have killed me when you had the chance, Charles. Sorry, that's from a different film, but that's it. I couldn't, when that said that line, I couldn't for the life of me figure out where I'd heard the line before, and it was doing my head in all day when he said you should have killed me when you had the chance. Where is that? Star Wars? Is that?
That's no,
now. It's from X-Men. Yeah, it's when
Ian McKellen.
Kill me when you had the chance, Charles. It was that. It was literally. It was that. I know that line. Brilliant. The little battle was. I take it back to Rebels almost, where we got the Kenobi Darth Maul fight, but they're on opposite wavelengths now. Whereas Kenobi was calm and he was ready for that battle and he knew he was going to finish it. Vader was full of rage, but Kenobi was just this terrified animal that he had no defense to this. Vader completely outclassed him. He was holding the lighter one-handed. He was throwing around with the Force. Kenobi's just kind of almost let himself back into the Force, and he's certainly not where he needs to be to face Darth Vader. If that battle had gone on much longer, he would have killed Kenobi without much problem.
Yeah.
I would have thought. I don't think it would have been much of a battle at all. Of course, it's building up to something. We're going to see it again. They're not going to just have that in the middle of the series. They're giving you like a taster. Your first taste free, and now stay for another 3 episodes, and we'll let you see what's actually going to go down with it. I loved it. I thought it was perfectly played. Again, we're getting 2 actors who are so into these parts. And Ewan even said in some of his interviews that he's been doing that when Hayden was first in that suit and they were in the desert fighting. It was literally like, it was quite a frightening thing to have him lunging at you. And you can see it play that way. And I can see why, as Obi-Wan Kenobi, seeing that would be absolutely the most frightening thing he's had to face since he last stood and looked him in the actual eyes to fight him. And I've loved it. I just the whole thing's awesome. And then we get to that scene of Anakin is so rageful of all he wants to do to that man is make him feel the pain that he's gone through, quite literally, not maybe anymore. He just really wants him to be set on fire.
It's crazy. I was not expecting this to happen this soon. And of course it wasn't the full-fledged battle. And I think a lot of people have been impatient as well with this show. I think a lot of having preconceived opinions about things when I think just need to give it a bit of time. And of course that's difficult when you get 2 episodes and then another episode within a week. Now we have to wait a whole week now for the first time. But this whole thing, I mean, like you've said, the acting in this is so, like, Ewan has to carry it in his face because obviously Hayden can't. Hayden has to really do the physicality and use that element of Vader, whereas Ewan has to do the face and the physicality. And I think he completely pulls it off. I absolutely love the lighting. I think everyone loves it when the lightsabers just add something to the face, but when that's the only thing that's lighting up a scene, pretty much, it just highlights, that whole blue and red. This is like I said, the first time that, Obi-Wan is seeing, Vader with this red lightsaber. First time he's seeing Vader in this suit. Yeah. This must be so much going on in his mind that the idea of having to kill this thing just can't even be in the mind. It's, well, how the hell am I going to escape? I've got, to think about Luke still. Leia is around the corner. There's just so much going on. I've found out that my old friend, Padawan, is alive. There's so much going on in his mind. I think some people, were disappointed that Obi-Wan didn't hold his own more, that he wasn't as good. But I think even if he'd been training, I think with all that in mind, that would have, led to him becoming, not able to do so, not able to fight properly. But then, I think about it from Vader's point of view and what he wants out of this. And he definitely wasn't aiming to kill him here at all. He wanted to show the power that he had. He knows Obi-Wan more than anyone else, in the galaxy. So to first kill these innocents, Obi-Wan's only seen Anakin hurt Padme. That was the only time he's seen to then hurt these people, children, to then, attack him with one hand, to then lay an area of fire, to do this, to put him in it. He wants to prolong this moment as much as possible. He's waited 10 years for this. And again, joy. It's joy to see because it's just so horrendous, so difficult in a way to watch. I thought the actual scene when Obi-Wan had his lightsaber on, he was turning. I found that so tense. That's probably the most tense I felt during this, because I just expected kind of like an Empire Strikes Back. Oh, he's just going to come out and we're not going to expect it, because that bit used to terrify me as a child. So to have that moment, it was creepy, and I was scared that there was going to be like serious like burn stuff going on. So I'm glad that it didn't stay there too long. But yeah, mad. And, thank God that I think Tala in Dear of Armor's character was a good shot because I don't know whether Vader would have just taken him away and brought him back to Mustafar or something and put him where he was burning or something. I don't know, but yeah.
No, it's a really good point of that, and that whole scene. I mean, the lighting as well, and this is the modern filmmaking thing. If you look at the sequel trilogy, the one thing they got right is if you look at the lightsaber duels. I know it's the best one's probably the Forest example.
Yeah.
They aren't like CGIing over the top of blades. The way they've designed them on set now is that they can fight with the glows and the everything, and it's really fascinating. And just it reminded me of the Attack of the Clones when they had the fight with Dooku at the end in the darkness. It was just so well lit, that scene, and again where the camera was, the cinematography, lighting is such an underrated thing, and it's not often used that well in Star Wars. And that's sort of weird thing to say, but Star Wars has never really been about the, I don't want to say technical, that's ridiculous to say, but those like in-device framing type things that sounds really unfair to cinematographers, so I'm going to kind of politely take that back. But where I'm going from is that creative side of things, with doing stuff slightly differently and in a duel like this, which isn't really a duel. It's like a mind game for Kenobi. Like Vader's, he's just like chilling side to side, like just you're hiding from this sun, but I'll go to the next one. And like poetry, it rhymes. The Kenobi under the lightsaber is exactly like when Kylo gets Finn and Rey. George Lucas would be loving that bit of symmetry there, the framing. But let's talk fire.
A song by Kasabian.
I was thinking, there was that one that the old '60s one. I'm the Lord of Fire, Hellfire, and yeah, that's the one I kept thinking of. He's been in a back to tank for probably most of his life now, Darth Vader. Well, not most of his life, most of the last 10 years. And he's probably sat there every day thinking, if I get Kenobi, I'm going to put him on fire. He's probably had that thought for 10 years. And my word, was that one of the most like frightening things Darth Vader's ever done? Like force choking you so you don't die, dropping you down into the ball of fire to drag you through it, to then, because on the rewatch, I didn't clock on the first thing. I was like, how did he get out of the fire? It was when he force pushes him away, and was very say like, this is the beginning of all your pain, or one of those kind of lines. And I was just there like, this is 8:30 in the morning. This is really dark and deep and phenomenal. And again, I just didn't expect it from this series, and I don't know why. I didn't sit here and think we'd get a watered down Vader, but I just didn't expect such a raw confrontation. I think maybe in my head, and I hate sort of the headcanon stuff that everyone has, but you think they'd meet once, it'll be a massive duel like episode 3, and it'll be done, and you'll see each other in A New Hope. But we're getting character development through them and through their meeting. That meeting was not about action, so that meeting was about, as you said earlier, Sam, all the stakes with Kenobi as well, everything. It was accumulation of events, and where it leaves him, with a charred arm, needing some advice in the Force from a Liam Neeson, please. It's actually, for a halfway point of a series, left in a very, very exciting place. And again, something I didn't think we'd get at this point in time, something I thought would come later. So, yeah, Dave, what do you think of that whole sequence? It's like nightmare fuel, isn't it? All the shots. Sorry, last thing I say. All the different shots of Vader, like in the fire. Like going through thumbnail pictures was so hard today because you get like one frame wrong, and like his eyes were covered and stuff, and it's just what a moment.
It was shot beautifully. All that stuff with the fire, with the reflections on him, and him stood in the fire is like Anakin on Mustafar. It's got all this connotation of the person that Anakin was, while he's also trying at the same time not destroy, but really damage Obi-Wan to a point that maybe in like 5 years he's going to have a white beard and white hair. Who knows? But it's really nice that it was. Not really nice. It was really nice. It was really special. And I love that this was just this, like, you've done this to me, so I'm going to do to you. This, it's like almost childish. Like, that's why I'm doing it, because look what you did to me. You'll know what I'm going through. And he just wanted to hurt him. And I love that's where Vader's at, that he's got no calm or cool behind that visage, that just incredible suit. He's just this boy who wants to beat someone with a stick because they beat him with a stick once, and God, I've fanboyed out all the time, and I won't ever not, because I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Actually, I think it's very much, the kid like thing of, you did that to me, so I'm going to do that to you. You hit me, so I hit you. And I think it's true to Anakin's character. Actually, he's very much been, oh, you've taken this away, I'm going to take this away. So Shmi, Tusken Raiders, Count Dooku took his hand. He took Count Dooku's hands, and then even in the fight on Mustafar, between him and Obi-Wan, it was. I remember when it got to the point where they just end up like hitting each other. They're not even using lightsabers, just each other, and it's like, I think, and it's kind of like that weird, sibling thing as well thrown in there as well. So it kind of makes sense. I mean, lucky that he had this flammable thing here to just light up. I mean, that's fantastic. Great for him. But I'm a bit thinking about that. But no, but yeah, the actual scene itself, I mean, is, those flames over his helmet. I mean, it must be such a moment for him to be in this position. Yeah, look at it. Look at it. It's just fabulous. It's so good. We've never had Vader in that kind of light as well, and with such natural fire, apart from when he's burning in Return of the Jedi. But it's just amazing. And, sorry, I feel like I'm going to kill Dave.
No. I did think
It's not
the first time we're going to see you in a fire pit.
Yeah, I felt there's another Uncle Owen roasting joke meme to happen here. No, yeah, so I mean, another roast of Obi-Wan, but in a completely different way. But no, I think it's good that this could potentially lead to, how Obi-Wan ages so quickly. That maybe part of it is for him recovering from things like this. He may get injured more in a later fight with Vader or Reva, both maybe. But yeah, just it's a great way. It's kind of like end of Act 2 vibes for sure. Where this is that would, if we were thinking about it, that would be end of Episode 4. But we're really at a point now where the stakes are now even higher. Reva has got Leia. Vader has shown himself. Obi-Wan is injured. They're trapped on this planet. What are they going to do? So I feel like we're in a really good place, not for the characters, but for as an audience, we're at a really good place. And I think that was just the icing on the cake, was to have such a personal touch to Vader's, attack of Obi-Wan, to do that.
No, it's really well said and very funny with some of it as well. And it's bang on with those things. It feels like the Act 2, and we're only, and I think that's why we keep saying we're only 3 episodes in, because I feel like we've hit a monumental point. And going back to what we said earlier, we've now seen every frame from marketing, even the poster that people got at Celebration on Friday. Shout out to Adina for getting it safely over to England for me. Thank you. I'll be getting that signed. That was the shot of the lightsaber and Kenobi under it, just done as a poster of stylized daytime and stuff. And I'm just sat there saying, okay, what's going to be next? Are they going to duel? Is it going to be in another planet? Like, there's so many questions we have. And I think it's because 3 has, I don't want to say jumped the gun because that's only like a bad term, but 3's advanced it again to a point where I didn't think the story was at, which just makes me so much more excited to what is going to come down the line in the future. And what I kind of want to roll out, we've gone on for a really long time today, which is really cool. So thank you everyone for watching, sticking with, and both of you've been on. I don't like doing like weekly predictions, but to both of you, like really short, where do you think it goes from here next week? Not the long term, but what I mean, I know obviously Reva's got Leia and he's going to go get it, but I keep joking about this Rocky montage. I think we're going to get like one really deep episode now, which is all about the character of Obi-Wan. We won't get Vader. We won't get an Inquisitor by Racine. So I think we're just going to get now a really depressing hour with Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I'll take that, because I think the story needs that. He needs to believe in the Force again. He needs to reopen that door. Because when he grabbed Leia, that was a great moment with the Force. And he's slowly starting to believe in what you said earlier, both of you, Quinn and Voss as well. We have Carl in the comments. Why did he let Obi-Wan go? Very good question, because I was going to make a joke saying he's not afraid of fire, is he? Maybe he is, I don't know. But yeah, the robot thing, again, like the monster robot, he's got a hammer. He's not afraid to use it at the moment. But yeah, sorry, I don't know. Where do you both think? Both of you take it from there. I've spoken a lot.
I mean, the one thing I did love of this episode, and that you kind of got that real feel that we're in the middle of a long movie, is how like it was just such a quick. Reva sort of moved off frame with it and literally just cut, and it was like no scene, nothing, like not like a fade to black or anything. It was like such a sudden. Oh, and here's your credits, because the next scene we're going to pick up so quickly at the next one. I love that. But next week, I do think if we're going to get Neeson, we get him next week. I think it's all going to be about the recovery of Obi-Wan was broken before, and now he's been defeated by Vader. He's been burnt by him. He knows what he's capable of and what he's now doing to get his attention, and that they have Leia. So I think it's going to be very much the recovery of Ben Kenobi becoming Obi-Wan Kenobi again. I think we get Liam Neeson and an acceptance of the Force, and then I don't know. I'm just here now to be surprised by what they give me in the next 3 episodes, because I've loved this so far, and I just want them to keep throwing this. If the rest of the series goes anything like the first half has, happy Dave.
Yeah, I think just quickly in terms of the, why do you let Obi-Wan go? I think again it's just part of that, he wants to prolong it. He knows he's on his tail. I think Vader's very confident that he can complete this now. I think if he wasn't before, then he definitely is now. So I think he's fine to just kind of like give him a bit of room to breathe, to take in everything that's just happened, and then go back at it again. So I think that's why that's happened. But in terms of what's coming next, I think we're definitely going to see less of Leia next episode. I think Obi-Wan needs to have Tala there as kind of like someone to speak to. He needs to help him heal. But then I think because of her position, I think that may help him to just even learn a bit more about what she's done and what other people are doing, because he has been so secluded. He doesn't know what's going on in the general vibe or anything else, apart from maybe just whispers and Tatooine and Mos Eisley. I kind of feel like if there's a time for Neeson to come back, it would be the next episode, because he can't really, because that shouldn't be the main focus of where this ends up. The main focus is going to be the battle, because that's what most of them have said in terms of press and marketing. It's Vader versus Obi-Wan. So that kind of needs to be out of the way. So if it's not in next episode, then it would need to be the beginning of episode 5, really. But yeah, aside from that, I'm hoping we get some more Reva stuff. I kind of feel like we need to get more of her perspective, and maybe more of the dynamic with the Inquisitors. I think there needs to be more there. Probably less of Vader himself. But then maybe part of Qui-Gon coming back will be more flashbacks and stuff. I'm hoping that will happen. But at the same time, I don't want it to be too much. I think it'd be wrong for the series to focus too much on the past and stuff. I think they've used clips from the prequels so well. It's been there, but not overused. But yeah, some new shots of Clone Wars, Anakin, maybe Ahsoka would be lovely. Obi-Wan in the arm, just anything like that would be great in the next episode. But maybe episode 5. But yeah, I think episode 5 would be the battle. Episode 6 might be, and I think a final conversation with Bail or something after that. But yeah, it's really interesting because we don't know how long the episodes are. I mean, I know today was 44, episode 2 was 40-ish, 150. Obviously, the beauty of Disney Plus, and it's like for Mando, is because they don't tie the running times, you never know really what to expect. And I think you're right, Sam. I think we need a lot of character development next week with Reva, certainly. Because I really enjoy her character so far. And so I made a really good point on the internet. She's actually the only new primary character in this show, which really surprised me, but wasn't wrong. Obviously, we know Vader, we know Kenobi, we know Leia, we know Luke, we know Uncle Ben. Not Uncle Ben, Uncle Evan, sorry. Very different franchise. All suffer the same fate, though. And, with Reva, we know nothing. Even the other Inquisitors are in Rebels, right? So we know they're going to get out of this all okay and stuff. And this is what makes Reva really interesting, because I think everyone assumes she won't make it past the series. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'd like to see a bit more, because I'm really enjoying it. And I think 4's the episode where you don't want
flashbacks in episode 5 and 6. You want 5 and 6 to be the present, hitting that finale. 4's got to be that character development push, and both what he said, I think it is going to be Qui-Gon Jinn next week.
Well, the other thing is, and I'm less hopeful for this, but it's still down in the back of my mind. What if there is a Palpatine cameo?
Wow, this is it. I'm not. Someone at Celebration got a Kenobi poster signed by Ian McDermott, and he did sign it. He didn't refuse. Now you're a bit of a devil's sword there, because if he refuses it means he's in it. And they'll be like, "Oh, he didn't sign it because he's in it," and if he signs it, they say, "Oh, he signed it because he's in it." I think we're going to get him in a cameo. I think it will be like a scene. If that, it will be him talking down to Vader or something. But Mr. McDermott is more than welcome to appear in Star Wars at any time. As long as it's not Clone 30 years after Episode 7. Sorry. Listen, I'm not dissing Ian McDermott. That is the storytelling that's the problem with that. Definitely not Ian McDermott. But yeah, it leaves us fast. We've been almost going on as long as the runtime of the first episodes combined, and we could do this for hours more. It's so hard, but I really appreciate both of you coming on. We're going to politely wrap it up for now. So 1 hour 40 on part 3. God knows what the next 3 are going to be like. But for everybody at home, for everybody in the comments, even the crypto bloke trying to advertise his crypto company, comment below with your
God
thoughts.
loves a trier.
I know. It's the crypto bros that really don't give up. Avi's probably a Elon Musk or something weird. But yes, comment your thoughts on Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're excited to get them. If you're watching this on demand after, comment your thoughts. We'll have replies to them. We like getting discussions going. And, of course, for a series of this magnitude, we will be back next Wednesday. Now, what I can say is we will be back next Wednesday, but it isn't going to be live at 8 p.m. I'm not allowed to say why. There is an embargo lifting for a film. Not hard to work out based on the release schedule, but that embargo lifts at 8 p.m. on the dot. So 8:30 p.m. is going to be part 4 next Wednesday. I hate doing dual uploads, but when you sign NDAs, you kind of have to. So yeah, 8 p.m. is going to be an undisclosed film next Wednesday, but 8:30 will be Obi-Wan Kenobi part 4, and I'm much looking forward to part 4 more than I am this upcoming film, which is really rude to say. It may or may not have dinosaurs in it. But I was on now before we're done. But yeah, sorry, I'm going to move on before I get kicked out by Universal and another name drop. So, social media.
It's Primeval the movie. Primeval the movie. That's what it is.
Primeval traumatized me as a kid. There was an episode where there was a dinosaur in a toilet, and I remember watching it, and I was absolutely mortified. And that was I remember that was a really good show when I was younger. But yeah, dinosaurs. But yes, get us on our social medias: Twitter at cinema_savvy, Instagram, Twitter, Instagram cinema_savvy as well, the same as our Twitter feed. We'll be posting on there. We're figuring out Instagram. Listen, Tate's sister Adina, she was with one of her friends, Jack. They've supplied us with more footage and photos beyond belief. I got sent about 200 photos yesterday, tons of videos as well. There is a lot of stuff to share that I'm looking forward to. So check out our Instagram. We've got a few things up. We're going to go through this Kenobi photo exhibition, photos from the red carpet there, Mandalorian stuff. So the Instagram stuff is going to be quite fun. It's not just us talking about our videos like Twitter. We're going to try and make it a bit more sociable. So please do follow us on there whilst we give it a go. And Star Wars month is kind of finished, but it hasn't finished because we're going to keep talking about Celebration. But the Steven Spielberg retrospective is going on. Empire of the Sun comes out next Tuesday, the 7th of June. That'll be me, Tom, and Tate recording that one before Tate goes back to Austria for a month. So if you're a fan of Spielberg, do check that out. And as I said, you two have helped me out all night. I haven't got your social scrolling, but Dave, your Twitter is at the Dave Bryan.
Dave Bryan.
Sam at Sam_1995, I think. So please follow.
Yes,
Sam
it is. I had to check myself because I never say it, but yeah.
That's fine. I've never said them. I'm glad I got it right. But please follow both on here. It's been a pleasure to get you both on. This probably won't be the last time we get you all on for Kenobi as well. There's 3 more episodes to come. And as I said, it's exciting. Vari, see you next week. Have a good night. Have a good night as well, my friend. I really appreciate your comments. And to you, Kyle, as well. Always welcome, my friend. So both of you, thank you for coming on. Everybody at home, thank you. And be sure to join us on the next one. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.